Hi there, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and today I have a Distress Oxide inks over cardstock and colored cardstock and an embossed background image to share with you. So what I'm doing here, this is a really simple card design, but I'm going to take the Simon Says Stamp Lattice Grid stamp. Any large background stamp will work for this. You just want some texture or a design to the background. And I'm using a scrap of mint cardstock from the August card kit. The components here are from the August card kit. It's called Together. And this mint cardstock, I'm going to stamp the abstract grid using Versamark ink, sprinkle on white embossing powder, and then heat set that. I'm using white because I want the embossed areas not to pick up the background color. I want it to be a whole nother color. So if you want the mint to show through, you could use clear, you could use black, silver, gold, whatever you want here. And then I'll be doing a little embossed resist. In the August kit, which I think is phenomenal, they are sending the Tim Holtz Cracked Pistachio Distress Oxide ink pad. These are fantastic inks. I just absolutely love them. And the Cracked Pistachio, I think, looks amazing with the Simon Says Stamp mint cardstock. But I thought I'd pull in a couple other colors just to kind of give a more rich looking background, a little bit more interest and color to this. So I am heat setting this background here, and a lot of times with a large background, it's hard to tell where all you've been. And if you don't get it all heat embossed and go to do embossed resist over it, you can really mess it up. So I like to hold it at an angle. It's going to show you where it's shiny and where the embossing powder has already melted. Now I'm going to take my Cracked Pistachio Distress Oxide ink pad, and I'm going to pair it with Broken China and Faded Jeans, and I'm just doing some circles. Really messy, not perfect inking or coloring at all. I just want to lay down some different colors, and you can see how awesome they look over top of colored cardstock. So you don't always have to do it over white. It gives you a totally different look to do it over a color cardstock. And the pigment in these ink pads is going to allow you to, the ink's going to sit up on top a little bit. Pigment ink is fantastic for stamping on darker cardstock, so I thought inking techniques on a colored cardstock would look amazing as well. I'm going to blend those colors together. Spritz this with a little water from a distress sprayer, because what is distress inks or distress oxide inks without some water reaction? I always love to do that. And I'm going to spritz it, and you can see my paper curling up. I'm going to let that sit for a minute and simply blot it dry with a paper towel. And it's just going to lighten some areas. It's going to be not as drastic of a distress look as maybe on a white cardstock, but it's going to add some fun interest. Now there is some slate cardstock in the kit, and I'm going to cut a really thin strip here. And I cut several. I wanted to make sure I got a nice even one. This is going to go along the outside edge of my background, and I'm actually only using a portion of what I inked here. I can save that other piece for another card if I want to, or punch shapes from it or something, anything else. But I want to leave a little bit of a white space on the left side of my card. So I'm just going to trim this down to, I think, about 3 inches by 5.5 inches. And I'll have a slate gray cardstock strip that'll go next to it. And then I need a greeting. So I've got a white top fold card base I'm going to use here, and adhere my inked background to that, as well as that gray, really thin cardstock strip. So here's kind of what it's going to look like so far. And then I want to take a greeting from the stamp set included in the August kit. This is the You Plus Me stamp set, and it is an awesome stamp set. Fantastic greetings, some borders, You can mix and match the greetings. They're just amazing. And I'm using the thanks and then for everything you do. And I'm going to stamp this on a scrap of slate gray cardstock using Versamark ink, sprinkle on some white embossing powder, and then heat set this. You could trim this into a rectangle then, or if you're like me, I like to make sure I get it nice and even, so I like to use a die. I'm going to use a Simon Says Stamp Basic Rectangles die to die cut this shape. And then I'm going to go ahead and start adhering everything. And I just have a thin line of glue. I've already attached my background, and I'm going to attach this thin strip. I purposely left it longer than the card to make sure that it was long enough. And then I'm just going to let the glue dry before I trim it. I'm adhering some foam adhesive on the back of the greeting rectangle, and then I'm going to attach that along the right edge of the card. At this point, once I trim off the ends, the card could be fine just as it is right now, or you can round the corners like I'm doing here with a 1/2-inch corner rounder, and the card could be ready to go. Or I decided to take some Nuvo crystal drops, which I absolutely love. I grabbed my swatch book, looked and saw what colors I had, and I am using Caribbean Ocean, Midnight Blue, and Sea Breeze to make a design. I'm just following that lattice grid background design and placing little drops of Nuvo crystal drops there. Let that dry, and my card is finished. Thanks for joining me today for this card featuring the components from the August 2017 Simon Says Stamp card kit. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says Stamp stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.